Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. Moving on the subclass series into the next subclass, which is the Swashbuckler Rogue.
Arr.
Yes, indeed. So, if you're new to the channel or to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the abilities gained in this subclass, and then we're going to rate it based on how it improves on the base class, based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy. So, without any further ado, we're going to jump straight into it.
Boom. Starting at level 3, you get to double up when you take Swashbuckler, and you get fancy footwork. So, on your turn, you learn how to land a strike and then slip away without reprisal. During your turn, if you make a melee attack against a creature, that creature cannot make opportunity attacks against you for the rest of your turn. So, essentially what that opens up is you don't have to uncanny dodge, or not uncanny dodge, you have to disengage as a bonus action as your cunning action. You can essentially disengage for free. If you want to get out of there, get out of dodge, you can bonus action to dash and get way out of trouble if you are in serious danger there.
Yeah, assuming you don't have more than one target.
Right.
You have to hit, it's whoever you hit, you don't have opportunity attacks.
Right. So, yeah, if there's multiple people in there, he's like, you're not really doing stuff any good. Also, at 3, you get a Rakish Audacity. So you can also gain the additional use of your sneak attack. You don't need advantage on an attack roll to use your sneak attack against a creature if you're within 5 feet of it and no other creatures are within 5 feet of you. And you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. All other rules for sneak attack still apply to you. So it's not like this is the only way you get sneak attack.
Right.
It's an additional proc chance for sneak attack. So essentially, like, you become this duelist, think of like pirates dueling, sword fighting on a, ship or whatever. Pirates of the Caribbean just can't get out of my head at this point. Gives you an extra chance that you're almost always going to have sneak attack.
Yeah.
Unless you're being 2v1. In that case, you're not going to hang around there for longer than that exact turn.
And technically, it's within 5 feet of you, so you could just kind of sidestep. And as long as 2 people aren't within reach of you, you're going to get opportunity attacks on, but that's what it is. It also gives a bonus to your initiative based on your charisma.
Right, so I just helping you get out there in front as early as possible, maybe get that extra sneak attack in before open up with a good round.
Yes. Then, at level 9, we have Panache. Your charm becomes extraordinarily beguiling. As an action, you make a persuasion check contested by the creature's insight. The creature must be able to hear you, and the 2 of you must share a language. If you succeed on the check, and the creature is hostile to you, it has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you, and can't make opportunity attacks against targets other than you. This effect lasts for 1 minute until one of your companions attacks the target, or affects it with a spell, or until you and the target are more than 60 feet apart. Alternatively, if you succeed on the check and the creature isn't hostile to you, it is charmed by you for 1 minute, and regards you as a friendly acquaintance during this time. The effect ends immediately if your companions do anything harmful to it. So, a really good way to tell someone basically you're dueling me, because if you don't duel me, you're going to disadvantage on all of your attacks.
Right. It's actually kind of like the Paladin spell for Compelled Duel, but it's an ability. There's no saving throw. It's a skill check comparison.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot better that it's a skill check as well, just because a lot of creatures has proficiencies in saving throws, but they don't necessarily have a whole lot of proficiencies and ability checks. So it's going to make this more consistent, especially once, if you take expertise in persuasion, because you can choose it as
reliable talent.
Yeah, reliable talent, and then you're going to be dealing 25 to 30 rolls pretty relatively regularly.
Yeah.
On that, especially if you put some points into charisma as well, which you may want to consider
with that ability, because you have 2 abilities that are tied to your charisma with recognition, giving your initiative roll a buff that way as well.
Definitely.
At 13, you get Elegant Maneuver. You can use a bonus action during your turn to gain advantage on acrobatics or athletics checks you make during the same turn. So out of combat, you're always going to have advantage on acrobatics and athletics checks.
Yeah.
During combat, you're thinking, well, that's okay, that's great. Biggest thing that's going to help with is going to be grapple checks.
Right.
If you're fighting things that likes to grab a hold of you, you're trying to break free of that. That's definitely going to help, because you can use that as a bonus action to help you break free. That way your action just helps you get out of there, so you're not stuck in there for turn after turn.
Yeah. And I guess the only thing, too, to consider, is if your DM lets you do it out of combat, is if it's going to take a certain amount of time, if he's going to let you just keep doing it, or because if it's going to be it's going to take you a minute to push this thing, but it's only until the end of your turn. So there might be some weird circumstances where it isn't always, but for the most part, it's going to be probably most of the time.
Yeah, great majority of the time, it's going to be a passive thing.
Right.
And finally, at level 17, you get Master Duelist. If you miss with an attack roll, you can roll it again with advantage. Once you do so, you can't use this feature again until you finish a short or long rest. So once per rest, you can get a free retry with advantage if you do miss an attack. And it's not an automatic proc kind of thing, so you can choose when to use it. So if you're like, there's this little bitty dude, he's almost dead, and you swing, you're like, I'm not going to waste my advantage on that. I'm just going to swing or whatever. It's fine. But if you're trying to hit the big guy, make sure you get that sneak attack in that turn.
Because it'll give you sneak attack because it gives you advantage on the roll.
Right, because you automatically get sneak attack because you have advantage on the roll. So it's a third different way for you to proc a sneak attack, essentially. Right. But it's only back at 17, so it's a long way away to get to that ability.
Yes. So those are all the abilities gained in the subclass. So we're going to move on to the rating portion, which first up is the roleplay value. So looking at this again with asterisk, as always, when we're talking about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with NPCs, interacting with the world around you, non-combat scenarios, non-combat encounters, basically avoiding combat, things like that. We're going to be anticipating you role-playing your background, lore, fantasy, history, all that great stuff, acting out your abilities. That's fine, but we're not scoring there. We're scoring based primarily on the mechanics of this subclass.
Bingo.
So, that being said, there's a couple things going on here. The main thing is going to be panache, just because you're going to be able to charm someone for a minute.
Yep.
And there is actually no limit to this. You just use your action to do it. You have to share language. So you could charm a bunch of people if you wanted to. It lasts for a minute. And if you go into persuasion with points into charisma and expertise in it, you're probably going to be charming people pretty easily, which is kind of ridiculous considering you can just charm for a minute with basically no limit to it.
Right.
So kind of crazy, though it is only for a minute. So definitely useful, especially if you're trying to get past some guards or whatever.
Yep.
Elegant maneuver, acrobatics, and athletics checks can be pretty common, I would say, on the RP side of things.
Sure.
So if you're flipping off something or climbing off something, that's gonna be pretty consistent. The rest of it is going to be primarily combat focused, though there could be some gray areas with fancy footwork because it says when you make a melee attack, so you could slap somebody and then disengage from them as you're trying to mess with somebody. So that could be used in RP sense, I guess, technically. But with panache and elegant maneuvers being so potent, we went with a 3.5 out of 5. Pretty solid on the RP side, even though there are only 2, maybe 3 abilities that would give you any RP potential.
Onto the fun side of things. This is a very enjoyable subclass, especially in combat, and it's efficient.
Yes, definitely.
The only thing that prevents this thing from getting the highest of scores is it is heavy front-loaded. Fancy footwork is great, like I've already said, because it frees up your ability with your cunning action, where you don't have to disengage. You could freely disengage and then bonus action dash, or do whatever else you need to with that. You can take bonus action, just dodge. That way, if you really wanted to, because you're I'm going to be in range, just dodge. So, less chance of hitting me. That's great. That just frees up that ability. You don't have to worry about having to disengage. Rakish Audacity giving you an extra opportunity to do the whole thing your main class is built around is perfection. That is what we're talking about.
It's huge.
And it fits very well with the flavor of things. One-on-one dealing is I'm better than you if we just decide to cross swords today, and that's great from the flavor side of will. Giving you an extra chance to go first in order, obviously with the charisma bonus as part of the same ability. I know there's got to be a subclass that gets just that, and that's all they get for one ability, just the buff to initiative, and they get both those things just for one ability.
It's pretty solid.
And then with
my father, prepare to die.
My name is Inigo Montoya. Kill my father, prepare to die.
Essentially,
right. Of course, with panache, basically, kind of like with the Rakish Audacity, it kind of gears into that further. Is you and I are going to fight. Don't worry about everything else that's going on. It's there. You got your 2 friends. The rest of my friends are going to fight them. You're going to want to fight me. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty much useless. This is basically what it is. Disadvantage on all attacks he does, which is fun. The only real drawback is you're going to spend your whole first turn doing it or whatever you choose to do it because it does take your action.
Right.
But it does last for a minute. So for the next 9 turns after that.
Right. And rogues have lots of things they can do with their bonus action.
Yeah, they're rogues. And of course, elegant maneuver does help with breaking out of grapples if you do come across those because of acrobatics and athletics checks as you're just spending a bonus action on a whole action. Master Duelist, you have to wait for 17 for it. It gives you a free chance to get sneak attack and re-roll a missed hit. Even with a 4.5 out of a possible 5, mostly because,
Definitely
like I said, it's a little front loaded. Your 2 abilities you get at 3 and panache at 9 are 6 out of 5.
They're really strong.
They're really strong abilities. And while the last 2 are by no means bad, it does kind of you're definitely on the other side of the bell curve for how powerful you're getting. You think, okay, at 13 and 17, I'm getting these really huge bumps in your power. You're really not.
Right.
It's just some extra little passive here, little bits here to help you kind of like round you out a little bit more.
Yeah. I think too you could just take 9 levels in this and then switch to like a Battlemaster fighter or like a College of
Swords Bard. Yeah.
Or even you could do lots of different multi-classes with this, and you wouldn't really miss out on too much because of those, 13 and 17 abilities aren't crazy. You'd be missing out on some of your sneak attack.
Sneak attack really is the biggest thing you would be.
Stuff. I guess
you'd be missing out on.
But yeah, there's some stuff on there.
There definitely could be some interesting, fun multi-class builds.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With going at least, as long as you take at least 9 levels to get the panache.
Right. Then lastly, we have the overall class synergy. With this one, there's a lot going on here, guys. So you're getting more use of your sneak attack, more consistently being able to be used.
Okay.
You are getting the ability to disengage essentially for free against wherever you attack.
Okay.
Very solid. You are getting your synergy with panache with your persuasion check, assuming you go expertise into it.
Which you should.
Right.
But with this being here, you should.
And then if you go also with acrobatics or athletics, you go expertise or proficiency even with those.
Right.
That's another thing because you're getting advantage with proficiencies if you decide to go with those. So pretty major on there. Master Duelist, again, at level 17 is going to give you more choices, chances I should say, to hit your sneak attack. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So that is a 5 for synergy for us because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
The abilities are very potent and they really deal with what the rogue does well, which is sneak attack, bonus action usage, maneuverability on the battlefield, maneuverability in RP settings, being slippery with acrobatics and athletics.
Yep.
Very synergistic thematically and mechanically, which is sometimes there's a lot of subclasses that are thematically synergistic, which we don't really count too much on, but this is actually mechanically and thematically, I think, synergistic with the rogue archetype.
If I were to ever play a rogue, personal opinion, this would be the one.
For sure. Love this. It's probably one of the best rogues. We were talking about this earlier. It's probably Assassin and Swashbuckler are probably some of the strongest rogues choices. Just add a raw over or top down. But that being said, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this one. Definitely really cool subclass, especially if you're feeling piratey or whatever. Definitely can go with that.
I don't know, how do you play this and not think piratey? I'd be impressed if you could think of another way to do this.
I mean, that's like the
maybe like Three Musketeer. You could be like that guy.
Yeah,
there's
some stuff, especially if you multi-class, you can really take good use of that. But that being said, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this one. If you've ever played as a rogue or with one, we'd always love to hear your stories. Let us know down below. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so more new videos are coming out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.